They go live. Okay, we are live. We are live. Today is April 27th. Welcome everybody who is going to be joining us. If you haven't already joined us and you come in late, or if you watch the replay, just hashtag replay, and then that way we know where you're coming from. Today we are doing a live interview for the podcast. Two is better than one. I am the host, and my co-host today is Miss Christian Family. I am I am so excited that you're here. We tried this for those of you who follow me. We tried this one before, and social media was not working. Zoom was not working. It was at the beginning of the shutdown. So everything Zoom, I think Zoom was overloaded, to be honest. I think it was overloaded. So, but we're here now, and that's wonderful. So I'm excited. So, just to give you guys a little bit of information about Christian, I'm actually going to put this up here. Christian is passionate about overcoming the stigma that causes good people to stay in bad marriages. Which, if you have ever been in a bad relationship, even if it's not a marriage, this is going to be such an important interview for you to watch. As a divorced adult and an adult child of divorce, her insight into marriage and divorce is unparalleled. Which I agree, and I'm excited for you to tell them the little twist about your divorced parents. It's going to be
Okay.
interesting. So, one thing I know that's very important to you that you aim to improve the lives of children of divorce. It's very important to you, and you have a very good sense of humor. So, using your humor and wisdom to reduce the damage that is caused by family conflict. And I have some questions about co-parenting for someone close to me. So, I think it's going to be a
Okay.
great interview.
Cool.
So now I'm going to shoot it over to you. So you go ahead, tell us about you and what you have going on, your passions, and basically why you do what you do.
Sweet. So I am a twice divorced now adult child of divorce lawyer for nearly 20 years. And both of my divorced parents live with me. And they have been divorced for like 36 years now. And so it's a very interesting dynamic. So I've experienced divorce as a person who was not interested in being divorced. And it was the other person who said to me, hey, I want out.
Mm.
And I've been divorced as the person who came to and was like, wait a minute. I got to get out of this thing. It's killing me, and it doesn't matter how much I don't want to be divorced. And it doesn't matter how much I'm afraid to be a single mom of three and how nervous I am about how I'm going to handle this financially. I want to live, and I want peace of mind and I want mental health. And so I have to get out of this thing. And so I've been the person on both sides there.
Right.
I'm fairly strong Christian, I would say, since I was a young girl. And in running into people all the time, I find that sometimes we've been taught, for sure, in the Christian faith, and I hear some of the other faiths too,
Yeah.
like the big three, that it's almost like they put marriage on a pedestal even above your relationship with God. Marriage is the most important thing. You never get divorced. You stay in this marriage. So what
Right.
if, he's rude and he's mean and it's keeping you away from God and it's not allowing you to be a good parent. The most important thing is to not be divorced. And so
Right.
that is my mission out there. It's my mission to protect healthy marriages, to
Yeah.
protect kids from the conflicts. And
So I
so
have a
that's
question. Which one came first? The one where you said that you needed to get out of it, or the one that they said they wanted a divorce? Which one came first?
the first one was he wanted to divorce me.
Okay, so do you think that because of that situation, you were able to see signs that were negative in the second relationship?
I wish.
Mm, yeah.
No.
You want to learn from everything that you go through, right?
Yes. No. So what happened with the first marriage, if you don't mind the story?
No, go ahead.
So he and I met actually when I was like 19 years old.
Mhm.
And we started dating really when I turned about 21. We didn't get married until I was 28 years old.
Oh wow.
It was shortly before our third anniversary when he says to me, I don't love you the way a husband should love a wife. And I
Wow.
don't think I want to be married to you anymore. And it cut. I mean, it's, to repeat the words, you know what I mean? Like I can relive the moment. But at that point, I had already been a divorce lawyer for several years.
Wow.
And the only thing that I had really known about divorce is that I didn't want to do it. right? Because my parents had done it and I don't want to do that. And even in helping women get protection from abuse orders and things like that, because that's what I did for the first few years of my legal career. Even then I thought, well, a little judgmental, right? Well, these women just pick poorly, right? Like,
yeah, it's easy when you're on the other side to have your opinions.
Tell the truth, right? Yeah. And so it was when I found myself in that situation where it was like, whoa, all the judgment went away. It was then I realized you can be the best wife you think you are. You can try to be doing everything right. You cannot want to be divorced. It takes two people.
Right.
And divorce happened to me. And it was like a real wake-up call. I called it shattering into reality.
Yeah.
Because how did that happen to me?
Yeah, it's and you had just remind me, your kids are from
the second marriage.
The second marriage. Okay. Well, not that a divorce is good, but I could say from experience, I've been divorced before. I'm married. I've been with my husband for almost 13 years now. But I got married very, very young at the age of 18. The relationship lasted for about 4 years, technically 4 years, but it was a very bad relationship. It was very abusive. There was cheating. There was, it was just a lot of bad stuff. I mean, we've spoken about it, in detail, but we didn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I will say is that I'm so grateful that we didn't have kids from that bad relationship, because I see a lot of people that have kids from bad relationships and are now dealing with, court or drama or parents being, out of the picture and trying to co-parent. Now, so my thing is, you being an adult now, your parents have been divorced for quite a long time.
Yes.
So when it happened, I feel like you're a special case, but your parents live with you. Now, both of them are still divorced. They both live with you. When they first got divorced, what would you say as you were younger? Were you a kid when
I was 7. Yeah, 6 or 7 when it happened.
So how is it from a child of divorce, the view that you had? How does it compare with what you actually see now as an adult? Like your view from then as a child versus your view of divorce as an adult?
Ooh, this is good. And there's a couple of layers to it. The first part
Peel it away. Give it to me.
I knew as a child that I didn't want a divorce. Like, that's what I felt was happening. I felt like I was getting a divorce. And I remember saying to my parents, I don't want a divorce. I want to be a family. Because to me at the time, divorce felt like we weren't going to be a family anymore. And it took away a lot of things actually that I didn't realize until my first divorce, which threw me into therapy. And I was able to see how a lot of the behaviors I had and ways that I interacted and always seeing things through rose-colored glasses all kind of started with my own parents' divorce, when I felt so out of control. There was nothing that I can control. And all the things that I wanted, I couldn't have. And so I started just not wanting things. And there's not even a better explanation than that. Why bother to want things? Because you can't necessarily have them. So just be satisfied with whatever it is you get.
So even at that young age, you still felt, well, why try? Because it's pointless. That sucks. That's sad. So I have a question about co-parenting. It's the ideal situation is a good co-parenting situation. That's ideal. But when you come to the table, you're seeing both sides. You have such a view of seeing it as a child, seeing it as an adult, being in the experience yourself, and then being on the table as a divorce lawyer, seeing it from other people's perspective. So you're basically I think that's what probably makes you a good divorce lawyer, is because you see all sides. But when you go to the table and you see the people that are getting divorced, I mean, is it hard for you to come at them as a lawyer versus your own personal opinion? Because you see, you hear things, you've been there. Do you find it hard to, I mean, obviously by law, you have to follow certain things, but on a personal level, do you find it hard to not put yourself in and say, hey, this is what I did?
Oh my gosh. Listen, that is such a good question. And the first thing is that, so let me back up. I used to
Mhm.
do a course actually which I'll be teaching again pretty soon virtually, called Co-Parenting: Tools to Make It Work. And
Perfect.
the idea was to really give people practical
Yeah.
information about co-parenting. And there were a couple of key things. And the main thing is to put the needs of the child first.
Right.
And so I was always teaching this course from the position of a child of divorced parents and how they operated, because they really did operate as co-parents very well. And so the whole thing really was always from that point of view.
Mhm.
And so when I would be counseling parents, I would share some of these stories.
Mhm.
Two favorite stories I have, I'll tell you the one.
Okay.
When I would go to my dad's house pretty much every single weekend,
Okay.
and my mother or my grandmother would come and pick me up. And my grandmother is the one who always tells the story. She says, "I come pick you up." She says, "And you'd be sticky and stinky." And I would ask you what you ate, and you'd say cheese and hot peppers. She said, but you would be so happy.
Yeah.
You would be so happy. And the point was, they focused on the fact that I was so happy.
Right.
And I have to tell this to the moms, because they're always concerned, not always, but a lot of them are concerned about sending them to dad's house. Is he going to bathe them? Is he going to feed them food? Is he going to do these things? He's not going to do it the way I do it. And my position is that I lived and I turned out well. And a lot of the reason I turned out this way is because I have a good relationship with my dad. And I have a good relationship with my dad because my mother was more concerned about my happiness than any of those other things. I mean, surely their position could have been, you're not going back over there till he can figure out how to bathe you, till he can figure out how to serve you healthy meals. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Look at this, right? But that wasn't their position. And so
I have an opinion on it, but again, I'm not in a situation, so I feel like it's just an opinion. Don't nobody snap, relax. But I hope, God forbid it happens. I don't ever want to get a divorce, and especially with having kids. A divorce again. I would hope that we would be able to, even if we were emotional, because how can you not be emotional, that we would think about the kids first. I see too many situations where the spite and the anger that the parents have for each other, whether it's one coming to the other or both of them to each other, I feel like gets put on the kids. And the fact that you're saying that, because that's exactly what would happen. And I would like to believe that I would initially be like, well, did you eat anything healthy? I know I would be like that initially, but I would hope that in a negative situation like that you kind of stop and say, okay, the child is happy. The child is thriving because of that. And I think a big issue that parents have is favoritism. They feel like when you are the strict one versus the fun, do whatever you want thing, that the kids are going to love the other parent more. And I think that's one main thing that kind of dictates how people act. Again, just my opinion on what I see, but like in my home, my kids, my husband is very like, just let them chill, let them run outside, let them, and I'm more like, well, did you do your homework? Did you do this? Did you do, and right now it doesn't bother me to be that person because we're together, but I can't imagine being in a situation where you're trying to make sure your kids still care about you versus the other parent, because that's just what comes up, to make that decision. So I don't know. Obviously, this is my opinion, but I would like to think that it's because they nitpick, because that's what it is. It's nitpicking because they're scared. They're scared that their kids are not gonna, they're gonna be messed up, or for some reason, a lot of parents they don't get divorced because of the kids. Do you see that? Like, I would say that you coming from such a unique perspective, but do you see that a lot where people say that they stay together like strictly because of the kids? Or do you get a balance? I would think that it's more we stay together for the kids than anything. But I think that's unhealthy.
It is unhealthy. And you do get a lot of we stay together for the kids. And exactly, it is unhealthy because what are you modeling for the kids? A loveless marriage, a marriage that's like a business. Do you really want your daughter or your son to grow up and feel like you can be in a marriage with a person who never wants to hold, doesn't want to kiss you, that doesn't you know what I mean, treat you
Right.
in the way that a husband should treat a wife. Because
Right.
if the two of you are just together for the kids and you're not better and stronger, is
Right.
this the kind of marriage that you want your kids, that you want to be modeling for your kids? And it
Yeah.
is hard, like,
Mhm.
because what's the deal? Like, if I get divorced, then financially all this stuff is going to be different. Oh my God, the kids aren't going to be able to stay in their nice house anymore. Oh my God, I'm going to have to move them to an apartment. Are the kids
Right.
going to hate me
Right.
because they can't have, you know what I mean, the kind of life that they had before? But what I know is that kids are amazingly resilient,
Right. Right.
amazingly resilient. And if we just take the time to let the kids, let them be angry and just let them know that it's okay that you're angry about this. It's okay that you're
Right.
sad about this. It's, you know what, everything is different. I'm upset too. And
Yeah.
that is okay. The kids will be okay. If you work on you being okay, the kids will be okay.
So what did you do with being in that experience and having dealt with it as a kid? What did you do that you feel is different than what other parents do? Because you were in that situation on both ends. What did you do different with your children that you think might have helped them to basically just keep thriving as, productive children?
Got you. Well, the big thing is I follow my mother's advice.
Mhm.
I follow my mom's advice. My parents co-parented me very well, in that my mother had full custody. This is before they used the term like shared parenting and joint custody a lot. Like, you get divorced, mom gets custody, dad's the weekend dad.
Yeah.
But to me, weekend dad wasn't a negative thing.
Right.
I loved hanging out with my dad. I talked to him on the phone regularly. He paid child support. If there was anything my mother couldn't get me, I called my dad. There was nothing he didn't supply. My parents worked together. If one of them could come to parent-teacher conferences and the other one couldn't, you know what I mean? They would trade off. There was never an event at school. At least one of them wasn't there. Like, they really co-parented almost as if they were in the same house together.
Yeah.
And so what has affected me is that I am wanting that kind of really healthy co-parenting relationship with my co-parent, but he's not my dad.
Right.
So the things that I do, though, is following my mother's advice, is to remember he is the one who defines his relationship with his children, not me. He defines that relationship. So I was having a couple of concerns. One, he will call here because he is who he is. And sometimes he will call, and I ended up getting my daughter her own phone so that so they could call her. But if she misses enough of his calls, he will call her, and then he's kind of like, he is who he is. Why didn't you take my calls? And then he's all upset. And without fail, once every couple of weeks, she gets a call from her dad and she ends up crying. Right? Part of me wants to say, well, you can't talk to him. Right. That's what part of me wants to say, but it's really his.
That's a big part. I would be like, no.
Say, right, exactly. But he gets to define that relationship with her. It will never be my mom wouldn't let me talk to my dad. It'll be I chose not to talk to him because he's an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be that way.
Yeah.
Similarly, there was one day he came to pick him up, and I'm sure he had been drinking. And this one right here is very controversial.
Right.
He came to the door to pick them up, and I'm sure he had been drinking. The kids have been looking forward to going with him. So at that point, I had one or two options, right? Hey, you can't take my kids. You've been drinking.
Right.
Which not only would have hurt the kids, and I know that fool would have caused the scene. Okay.
Yeah, especially haven't been drinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, right, do you let the kids go with him? And then do you question that? What kind of a mother am I to let my children go
when you know that they're drinking?
Has been drinking.
Yeah.
I let them go.
Yeah.
I let him go. It was the decision that I made. He didn't stand them up, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I get it.
He showed up like he was supposed to pick them up. He didn't waste his time away at the bar or whatever. You know what I mean? He came and got them. And so I let them go, and they ended up being safe. And you know what I mean? And they came back safe and everything was okay. But without my mother's kind of words in my head that he defines his relationship with them, he shows up, he does this, that's about him and them. So yeah, that's probably the best advice and what I try to do.
That's a big deal because without trying, I think a lot of moms, they kind of dictate just because they're looking out for their kids. And that's hard. Like I probably dictate, and I'm married. you know?
Right. Exactly.
So I understand it 100%. I wanted to ask you though, if, in that situation, what if something not dramatic, but what if he got and say pulled over, or would
Mhm.
that have changed your mindset of how to basically, because I know you're thinking he's never going to hurt his children, he's not going to put his kids in harm's way. That's the first thing. You know the person, whether you're together or not, you know the person. And then like you said, he didn't stand them up. So knowing that he'll never hurt them, he didn't stand them up. He obviously, whether it was 1 or 2 beers, he obviously felt that he
Mhm.
was good to go to keep his kids safe. But in that situation, would your mindset have changed if something minor, like he got pulled over or, a fender bender, would your mindset to let him go have changed at that point?
So I'm going to answer this question with a different story and see if it works. So right before I finally made the decision to put him out, because the relationship was abusive, like verbally, emotionally, and had gotten physical, abusive. The very last fight that we had, it was on a Wednesday. Of course, these are the things you remember, right?
Yeah.
And I knew at that point I had learned a lot of new tools because I had been doing this emotional intelligence leadership training, right? I had been learning a lot of new tools. And so even though I felt him coming at me, trying to have this fight, right? I felt like I was dodging the blows. Like I knew what to do. I knew what to do.
Right.
And it kept escalating. And so I see myself huddled in the bed, holding my 2 boys, who at the time were like 1 and 4, I'm assuming, right? So I'm laying in the bed, I'm huddled with the boys, and I'm saying to him, listen, you'll be mad still tomorrow. You'll still be mad tomorrow. You don't have to have this fight with me right now in front of these kids, right? But he's angry. He's threatening me with a knife. He's, throwing stuff. He's me like, no, this is awful, right in front of the kids. He finally threw something. He broke a television. All of these things, right, trying to get a rise out of me. And the old me would have, right, got into it. Quit acting like this.
Right.
He couldn't get a rise out of me enough till finally he picked up the baby. So he picked up the baby. And so now this is the last straw. He's got the baby in his hand. This definitely would have been the thing that would have hot me up and really escalated this fight.
It would have gotten me going.
Okay. And a voice went through my head. A thought went through my head that said, if he kills that baby, it's on him. I am not going to engage. It was a hard call, but so I get up, right? And I start fighting with you over the baby. Now what happens, right? Now the baby gets hurt, it's on me. Like, right, where do you go with this?
Yeah.
And so it just was like, that's on him. That's on him. He did end up, of course, getting put out of the house and not, ultimately a few days later, I think after that, and not going there. And so that's kind of the thing. If something had to happen and he's in the car with the kids and he's drinking, they get pulled over. And now they've been traumatized by this incident with the police, because this is, what potentially would have happened. Now I'm at least in a place to say, hey, I can't trust you to take the kids when you've been drinking because this would happen, versus I'm speculating something bad could happen, Once something bad does happen, I mean, you got right, you got something to stand on here, right?
Yeah,
Last time this happened. So,
that's true. You really can't penalize somebody for what could happen,
right?
Because that's just not realistic. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I was in those, like I said, I was in a very abusive relationship, and I was in some horrible situations. I can tell you firsthand that I know that if I had children at that time, it would have been on. And not because I wouldn't have been able to think past that moment. Like I would have just reacted.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people react on emotion, on pride. And I know that what you're doing outside of, not outside, but the next step of being a divorce lawyer for you is actually mentoring women.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
Oh, excellent. So, and that's a perfect pivot, because actually I am 100% shutting down the law firm.
What?
Christian Family Law PC, effective Wednesday, will no longer be in existence.
Oh my God.
I liken it
I was
to,
the first to find out.
that's right. I liken it to when the Oprah Winfrey Show went
Wow.
off of TV, and they were like, "Oh my God, Oprah show's going off." But then
Yeah.
then she started OWN.
Oh, yeah. She was like,
So
I'm just shutting this corner down.
exactly, and so
Relax.
that's how I feel. Because
Wow.
as a divorce mentor, that really is my passion, is to remove, like you talked about it, the stigma from divorce. The legal part of the divorce is really just a small part of it. I hate to say small, but it's just one part of it.
Right.
There are really 6 components overall. And being a divorce lawyer, I'm only helping really with that one part. So a lot of times the women are getting to me pretty far into the process. Like they've been thinking about divorce for a while. They're in a place.
Right.
And then after the divorce is over, I don't really get to see them afterwards. And so the new animal is to see the women from thinking about divorce to thriving after a divorce, and to lead them through all of the parts of the process. Excuse me for a second. I am recording live.
I'm sorry.
You're welcome. What's the problem? That's cool. You're interrupting me now. All right. Love you. Listen, he came on here to apologize for being loud. Really?
That's the little ones. They're like, sorry for being in your face. Like, well, why are you in my face?
Why are you in my
face? Yeah, it's okay. You're a mama. That's the point. It's all about.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's the idea though with the divorce mentor, is to really lead women throughout the entire process. So there'll be like online education and group coaching and just ways to really get your mind right. To get you from thinking about divorce and to overcome a lot of the fear and the shame and the guilt that's keeping you in this marriage, to setting yourself up so that the legal process can be the least expensive, the least painful, the least timely as possible, and that you can come out on the other end really thriving. So yeah, that's where we're going.
Amazing. So quick question though, how are you getting them at the point before where they're just thinking about, like, how are you connecting with them when they're just thinking about divorce?
This is the winning question. And so right now I have a coach, right? Because anybody that's trying to do anything has to have a coach.
Yeah, you got to have mentors. You got to have the right people around you, because you don't know
how, right? And so just working on really just kind of Facebook ads and YouTube ads and ads to help these people raise their hands, help them raise their hand and say, oh, that is me. I am thinking about divorce and I'm afraid to do anything about it. And to also inspire women, because that's kind of my target audience, that just thinking about divorce, number one, isn't bad.
Right.
2, it doesn't mean you're necessarily getting a divorce.
Right. Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. So what if they decide to work with you and they are going to get a divorce, do you help them find a divorce lawyer, or do you act as their divorce lawyer at that time?
Gotcha. I will not act as their divorce lawyer. I will help them be prepared to know how to find their own lawyer.
Right.
And how to know that they're picking the right lawyer, and how to make sure that they are going to be the best client that lawyer has ever had. Excuse me.
Sorry,
yes, Zeke.
He's like, I'm sorry. I'm opening the door. I'm sorry.
Listen, I'll be done shortly. I love you.
Okay, real quick, does anybody that's watching live, do you have any questions for Christian? Maybe you know somebody, or even you're in a situation where you're thinking, let me just find information. If you don't want to ask the question on here, that's fine. Her information is rolling across the screen. You can see Christian Family and then her website, but as you know, that's obviously going to be changing. So where can they reach you at then? If not, what would be the best way to contact you separate from the law?
Gotcha. So christianfamilylaw.com will ultimately be redirected to christiandivorce.us.
Okay, good.
And so christiandivorce.us will be where you want to find me. You can find me all over the internet, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I am Divorce Answer.
Awesome.
And on YouTube, I'm Christian Family Esquire. So I have a YouTube channel that's got a lot of useful information on it, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
And I'll be adding more and more content. DMing me in Facebook right now. Like I'm not so big right now that I'm not responding to my own messenger messages.
Right.
And a lot of people go away. A lot of people are not comfortable posting questions about this kind of stuff in public. And that's cool. DM me. I use the information because it's helpful to me to find out how can I help people who, because if you have that question, somebody else does.
Right.
And I enjoy talking to people and learning more about how I can be a better divorce mentor.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think somebody, Catrice, which is actually my mom, she said, "Do you have a question, Mom?" She said, "Yes, I do. I have a question." Let's see if you have a question. If you have a question and you put it on here, or if you want to just reach out, you can direct message, like she said. You don't have to ask on the live if you don't want to. Anybody that has any questions, like moving forward, like I said, if you're thinking about a divorce, or if you know somebody that's maybe you feel like you're close to people, so you might be able to see that they seem like they're getting a divorce and they need to speak to somebody, pass Christian's information on, collect it. Okay, she does have, hold on, she has a question. Let me put it up here. What do you do when you let the child see for himself his dad is an asshole and you see the child is suffering? That's a good question.
That is the best question.
Yeah.
And you're sad with them. You're sad with the child. You're sad with them. The key thing with kids is to not put your own emotions on them. Let them lead the way emotionally.
Right.
So if the child is sad, you get to ask them, "Are you sad about this?" And you get to be sad too. If they're angry about, yes, see. Okay. Thank you. Right. But if they're sad about it, you get to be sad about it. If they're mad about it, you get to be mad about it. And that's the key, because sometimes what happens is I see their dad being an asshole. And so I'm mad about it.
Yeah.
And so I want to come to the kids and go, "Aren't you mad about that?"
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
That's my
You're projecting.
Exactly. Got to let the kids lead the way emotionally, because it is hard. It's hard for kids with asshole parents. It's hard for kids with absent parents. It's hard for kids with me, like,
I get it. I have so many questions. I actually wanted to I'm going to be doing interviews with my brother. Actually, he's dealing in a situation where he has two kids. The kids both live with their mothers, and he's trying to be in their lives, but he's dealing with the parents still have animosity towards each other. So that dictates the children. It does. So we're going to be doing some interviews, a segment on the podcast. And I would love for it to be a 3 interview process, because divorce, even if divorce is not in the situation, co-parenting is a big deal. So I would love to have both of you on at the same time. So, because I know he has questions that I obviously can't ask because I'm not in that situation. And I know that you'd be able to answer. And I know a lot of people out there have the same exact questions or dealing with the same thing.
For sure.
So we have
that's funny. You're right.
Mama, the baby's like, "No Facebook Live today." She's like, "Pay attention to me." Okay, so Dr. Ray, she a dear friend of mine, she is actually asking a question. Do you offer digital products?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, right? I'm building it and designing it right now, the beta version. Coming up with the name for the project that will attract my ideal client. Like I've been toying around with 90-day divorce because I think that's funny, but I don't know if it really.
For the 90-day, what is that show?
Like 90-Day Fiance.
Yes, that's. Oh, I don't know. I think you should go that way.
Right, so I've been thinking about that. But yeah, it's definitely coming. Be paying attention for like webinars, introducing it, and for a full online curriculum.
Awesome. Do you want to add anything else?
Oh, let's see. Anything else I want to add? Oh, there's 1,000 million things I want to add. Yeah. But here, let me plug my podcast because nobody listens to it. There's only There's only 4 published episodes. Go away. And he's whispering at me. Keep talking. Just keep talking.
Just go away, child. Please.
So, because my parents are my parents and they're really good sports, I actually started a podcast called Asshole Parents.
Yes.
And the impetus was my parents, who both live with me, who both think the other one's an asshole. And as I've spent the time with them, I think they're really both assholes. And then it made me question, does that make me an asshole? You know what I mean? So all of that, you know what I mean? There's all of that involved.
Like asshole adjacent.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the last thing. Plugging the podcast. There's 4 episodes. They're really interesting though, because one with my mom, one with my dad, and one with the 2 of them together. Yeah. And the conversation gets raw and real, and hearing about
bicker a lot
from my dad's point of view and my mother's point of view, and then getting them together, and so yeah, it's cool.
I listened to it. It was very amusing. I would love to sit down and talk to your parents in person. I think it'd be hilarious. So if you are watching this, definitely catch her podcast, Asshole Parents. It's very funny, and it's funny, but it's a serious topic, honestly. Right. So I think it's wonderful. So thank you, Christian. I'm so glad we finally got to do this. I know we've been trying. The internet's not been nice, and then today we almost had it fully, and then the kids are like, you're talking about us, pay attention to us.
Right.
I greatly appreciate it. If anybody wants to contact Christian, of course, just you can either direct message me or direct message her. I'll have her information, the correct information. Now that we know that her business is changing,
right,
we'll have the correct information for everybody to contact her. And basically that's it. Thank you everybody for listening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.